My hands were signing deployment orders for a battalion heading to Okinawa when my phone buzzed with a text from my sister Casey. "Moving day tomorrow, come see the new place." You won't believe what I paid for this couch smiling face. I finished my signature, Colonel Shauna Iverson USMC, and looked at the message again. The emoji felt like a peculiar choice for someone about to spend more on furniture than most people earned in 6 months. But that was Casey. Everything was a performance, and I'd become a reliable member of her audience. I texted back, "I'll be there." What I didn't add, I'd be coming from a morning briefing on Pacific Force readiness, and I had exactly 2 hours before a secure video conference with CENTCOM. But Casey didn't need those details. She needed her little sister to show up and admire her success. And I'd gotten very, very good at playing that role. My name is Shauna Iverson. I'm 41 years old. For the last 3 years, I've been a full-bird colonel in the United States Marine Corps, commanding logistics operations that move billions of dollars in equipment across 3 continents. My family thinks I work something with supplies at a military base. They think I live in a cramped duplex off-post. They think my salary is probably okay for government work. I've never corrected them. There's an art to being underestimated, and I'd perfected it somewhere around year 7 of my career. At first, it was operational security. You don't advertise your rank when you're a female officer in certain overseas posts, but then it became something else. A game. A test. How long could I let them believe the lie? How much condescension could I endure before the truth became too heavy to hold? Turns out, quite a lot. Casey's new townhouse was in one of those aggressive suburban developments, where every unit looked identical except for the wreaths on the doors. She'd texted me the address 3 times, as if I were the kind of person who got lost easily. I parked my personal vehicle, a modest Honda, not the staff car I occasionally used, and walked up to find the front door propped open with a moving box. Inside was controlled chaos. 2 professional movers were navigating a massive sectional through the doorway, while Casey directed traffic with the intensity of an air traffic controller. She was in yoga pants and an oversized t-shirt, her hair in a messy ponytail, but somehow she still managed to look put together. That was Casey's gift. She made effort look effortless. "Shauna!" She waved me over without breaking eye contact with the movers. "Careful with that corner. That's Italian leather." I stepped inside. The townhouse was nice, open concept, plenty of natural light, the kind of place that looked expensive without trying too hard. Boxes were everywhere, labeled in Casey's precise handwriting. Kitchen, fine china. Living room, decorative pillows. Master bath, luxury towels. Everything was luxury, everything was fine, everything was curated for maximum impact. "Hey," I said, "place looks great." She finally looked at me, and her face did that thing it always did. A microsecond of assessment, calculating whether I was worth her full attention. I passed, barely. "Thanks. It's a mess right now, but wait until you see it furnished. Todd and I have been planning this for months." Todd was her husband, a pharmaceutical sales representative who wore expensive suits and talked about crushing quotas. He was fine, boring, but fine. The kind of man who referred to money as paper and thought it made him sound sophisticated. "Where is Todd?" I asked. "Golf, obviously." She rolled her eyes, but there was pride in it. Todd golfing on a Saturday meant Todd had important clients. Todd had a life that required regular absences. The movers finally got the sectional through the door and into position. It was enormous, easily 12 feet long, a deep cognac color that probably photographed beautifully. Casey circled it like a predator. "This is the centerpiece," she announced. "Custom order from a showroom in Milan. Took 4 months to arrive." "It's beautiful," I said, because it was. She ran her hand along the leather, her fingers catching the light. "Feel this." I touched it. Soft, expensive, the kind of leather that smelled like money. $8,000, she said, watching my face. I kept my expression neutral. "Wow." "I know, right?" Todd almost had a heart attack when I told him, but I was like, we're only doing this once. We're not going to cheap out on furniture. One of the movers, a younger guy with a tablet, was checking something on his screen. The other, an older man with a gray beard, was already heading back to the truck. Casey patted my shoulder, and there it was, the gesture that summarized 15 years of sibling dynamics. Gentle, condescending, the physical manifestation of, I'm doing better than you. Your whole apartment could fit on this couch, sister. I smiled. Probably. She didn't even notice the edge in my voice. She was already moving on, directing the movers toward the bedroom, explaining where the bed frame needed to go. I stood there in her living room, surrounded by boxes labeled with words like luxury and fine, and felt the familiar weight of the performance settle over me. This was the game. This was the test. I'd been playing it for so long I'd almost forgotten what the truth felt like. The thing about Casey is that she wasn't always like this. When we were kids, she'd been softer, kinder. We'd shared a bedroom until I was 12, staying up late to whisper about boys and teachers and the future we'd have when we grew up. But something shifted when she hit college. She'd gone to a state school, joined a sorority, and come back with a completely different operating system. Suddenly, everything was about status, about appearances, about winning some invisible competition I hadn't realized we were in. She'd married Todd right after graduation, and he'd amplified everything. Together, they'd built this life of careful consumption, the right house, the right cars, the right friends. They had a Pinterest-perfect existence, and they needed everyone to know it. Which made me, with my vague military job and my apparent lack of ambition, a problem. I didn't fit the narrative. I didn't post Instagram photos of exotic vacations or designer handbags. I didn't talk about investments or real estate markets. To Casey's social circle, I was the sister who never quite figured it out. And I let them think that. Because here's what they didn't know. I lived in historic officers' quarters on a Marine base that dated back to World War II. My cramped duplex was actually a fully restored 400-square-foot residence reserved for senior field-grade officers. It came with original hardwood floors, a wraparound porch, and a view of the parade ground where Marines conducted evening colors. The furniture, all custom, all antique, all selected by a military historian who specialized in period-appropriate furnishings for historic properties. That Italian leather couch Casey was so proud of? I'd sat on nicer ones in the commandant's residence, but I didn't tell her that. Because watching her perform her success was infinitely more interesting than explaining my own. The afternoon crawled forward. More furniture arrived, a dining table, a bedroom set, accent chairs that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Casey documented everything on her phone, pausing to take photos at strategic angles. This is going to look amazing on Instagram, she said, adjusting a throw pillow. Everyone's going to die. Todd arrived around 3 p.m., still in his golf clothes, smelling like expensive cologne and grass. He did the rounds, handshake for the movers, kiss for Casey, nod for me. Shauna, good to see you. You too, Todd. How's the, He snapped his fingers, searching for the word. The military thing? Keeping me busy. I bet, all that supply chain stuff? He said it like someone describing a particularly boring spreadsheet. Casey tells me you're still at the same base? Yep. No promotions or anything? I thought about my promotion ceremony 6 months ago. The 2-star general who'd pinned on my rank. The reception afterward, where I'd had conversations with the senator and the undersecretary of defense. Not yet, I said. He nodded sympathetically. Tough field. Government work, you know? Not a lot of room for advancement. Casey reappeared with her phone. Babe, come take a picture of me with the couch. Shauna, you want to be in it? I'm good. She posed, one leg tucked under her, hand on the armrest, casual smile that had probably taken 20 attempts to perfect. Todd took 15 photos from different angles while she adjusted her hair between shots. Perfect, she declared, reviewing them. Okay, now let's get one of both of us. Shauna, seriously, get in here. Quote, I moved into frame. Casey wrapped an arm around my shoulders, pulling me close. Smile! I smiled. The camera clicked, the performance continued. Later, she posted it with the caption, "New house, new couch, same sister, 2 hearts, hashtag family first, hashtag blessed life, hashtag Italian leather." Same sister. As in, the constant. The one who stayed the same while she ascended. I wondered if she even heard what she was saying. Over the next few weeks, Casey texted regularly. Photos of the finished rooms, links to furniture websites, invitations to a housewarming party I couldn't attend because I'd be in Quantico. "Can't you reschedule?" she'd asked when I told her. Not really. What could possibly be more important than family? I had thought about the advanced logistics training I was delivering to officers from 7 different countries, about the strategic partnerships I was helping to build, about the very real impact my work had on global stability. You're right, I'd said instead, "I'll try to move things around." I didn't move things around. I went to Quantico, I delivered the training, I had dinner with a 3-star general who specifically requested my presence. And Casey had her party without me. She sent me photos afterward. Her house was full of people I didn't recognize. Todd's work friends, her sorority sisters, neighbors who'd already become part of their inner circle. Everyone was holding wine glasses and looking attractive and successful. "Missed you," she texted. "Everyone was asking about my sister." I told them, "You're really dedicated to your job." Dedicated, like it was a character flaw, like I was choosing paperwork over parties. I stared at that text for a long time before responding, "Sorry I missed it. House looks amazing." She sent back a heart emoji. That was the extent of our communication for 2 months. The call came on a Tuesday, not from Casey directly, but from my mother. "Casey's having another furniture delivery this weekend," Mom said. "She wants you to come see, says it's important." "What's being delivered?" "I don't know, honey. Something expensive probably. You know your sister." I did know my sister. And I knew that important meant she wanted an audience for whatever status symbol she'd acquired. "I'll try to make it," I said. "She really wants you there, Shauna. I think she's trying to include you." Include me, as if I were on the outside of something, waiting to be let in. I thought about the previous weekend, when I'd been in Okinawa reviewing base infrastructure with the 3rd Marine Expeditionary Force commander. I'd stood on a tarmac watching ospreys take off at sunset, feeling the thrum of rotors in my chest, and thought, this is what I chose. Not the Italian leather couch. Not the Instagram photos. This. "I'll be there," I told my mother. And I meant it. Because the game wasn't over yet. Because I still wanted to see how long I could maintain the performance. Because some part of me, the part that remembered sharing a bedroom with Casey, still hoped she might see me. Really see me. Saturday arrived with unseasonable heat. I'd been up since 5 a.m. reviewing requisition reports, and by the time I drove to Casey's townhouse, I was already exhausted. The development looked different in harsh daylight. Less charming, more manufactured. The identical wreaths now seemed aggressive in their uniformity. Casey was in her driveway when I arrived, directing yet another delivery. This time it was a different company, higher end, judging by the truck. The movers wore matching uniforms and moved with the precision of people who handled expensive things regularly. "Shauna!" Casey waved me over, her face flushed with excitement. "Perfect timing!" I walked up. "What's being delivered?" "You'll see." "Come on, they're bringing it in now." Inside, the house had fully transformed. Every surface was styled within an inch of its life. Coffee table books arranged just so. Throw blankets casually draped. Plants positioned for maximum aesthetic impact. This wasn't a home. It was a showroom. The movers were carefully maneuvering something large through the door. As it came into view, I recognized it immediately. Another sofa. But not just any sofa. This one made the first look modest. It was massive, easily 14 feet long, upholstered in what looked like hand-woven fabric, with brass details that caught the light. The kind of piece you saw in design magazines under headlines like investment furniture. Quote, Casey was vibrating with pride. Custom made, took 9 months. "It's impressive? Feel this leather?" I moved closer. The material was unbelievably soft, clearly expensive. The kind of textile that probably had a pedigree. $8,000, she said. I paused. This one? No, the other one was 8,000. This one is more. She patted my shoulder again, that same condescending gesture. Your whole apartment could fit on this couch, sister. There it was, the line that was supposed to make me feel small, the reminder that in her world I was less than, that my life was somehow diminished because I wasn't buying furniture that cost as much as a car. I was about to respond, something diplomatic, something that maintained the performance, when the younger mover, the one with the tablet, squinted at his screen. His face shifted, confused. Oh, ma'am? He looked up at Casey. I think there's been a mix-up. Casey frowned. What kind of mix-up? This says we're delivering to... He checked his tablet again. Lady, we're delivering your things tomorrow. It says here, historic military officer's residence, meaning an order from your sister. Silence. Actual crushing silence. The mover was still talking, oblivious. And that couch costs way over 8,000. The invoice says... Stop, Casey said. Her voice was strange. Hollow. The mover stopped. Todd appeared from the kitchen, sensing something wrong. What's going on? Casey was staring at me. Really staring at me, maybe for the first time in years. Her face was doing complicated mathematics, trying to reconcile what she'd just heard with everything she thought she knew. Shauna? Her voice cracked on my name. What is he talking about? I looked at the mover, then at Casey, then at Todd. The moment hung there, suspended, all of us waiting to see what I'd say. I could have deflected, could have laughed it off, made a joke, maintained the lie. But I was so tired. I ordered a couch, I said simply, for my residence. Your residence? The historic officers' quarters, on base. It's being refurnished. Todd's face went blank. Officers' quarters. Senior field-grade officers' quarters, technically, for colonels and above. The word landed like a grenade. Colonel? Casey's voice was barely a whisper. Fullbird, Marine Corps, Logistics Command. The mover, finally reading the room, stepped back. So should we come back tomorrow for the actual delivery? I nodded, yes. Around 10 a.m., if that works. The base housing office will have you cleared through the gate. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am. Not lady, not miss, ma'am. The respect in his voice echoed through Casey's perfectly styled living room. Todd found his voice first. Your colonel? For 3 years. But you told us you worked in supplies. I do. I command supply operations across 3 continents. Logistics, equipment, strategic resource allocation. Casey's hands were shaking. The cramped duplex. You said you lived in a cramped duplex. You assumed I lived in a cramped duplex. I never actually said that. But you let us think. Yes. Why? That was the question, wasn't it? Why had I let them believe the lie? Why had I played the role of the disappointing sister for so many years? I thought about all the condescending comments, all the shoulder pats, all the assumptions about my failure, my limitations, my small life. Because it was easier, I said, than explaining something you weren't interested in understanding. The younger mover was inching toward the door. The older one was already outside. They wanted no part of whatever was happening here. Casey's face had gone through shock and was landing somewhere near shame. When you said you couldn't come to the housewarming, I was at Quantico, training officers from 7 countries. And last month, when you said you were busy, Okinawa, reviewing base infrastructure with the 3 MEF commander. Each revelation was another brick removed from the wall she'd built around her worldview. I could see it crumbling in real time, her entire understanding of our relationship disintegrating. Todd sat down heavily on their $8,000 couch. Jesus Christ. Casey's phone fell from her hand. It hit the hardwood floor with a crack. Screen first, the sound sharp and final. She didn't pick it up. Your whole apartment could fit on this couch, she whispered, repeating her own words back to herself. Oh my God. It's a good couch, I said. You should be proud of it. Don't, her voice broke. Don't be kind. Not after I've been. She couldn't finish the sentence. Couldn't articulate the years of casual cruelty disguised as concern. The shoulder pats and the Instagram captions, and the assumption that I was less than. I picked up my bag. I should go. I have a briefing at 4 p.m. Wait. Casey grabbed my arm. Her grip was desperate. Shauna, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I know you didn't. That's the point. But if you'd just told me, would you have believed me? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. We both knew the answer. I gently removed her hand from my arm. The couch really is beautiful. Enjoy it. I walked to the door. Behind me, I heard Todd say something to Casey, his voice low and urgent. I heard her start to cry. Not the pretty crying of someone posing for photos, but the ugly, gasping crying of someone whose world had just collapsed. Outside, the movers were securing their truck. The younger one saw me and straightened. Ma'am, again, I'm really sorry about the confusion. I should have verified the address before. It's fine, I said. These things happen. For what it's worth, that residence you ordered for? I delivered to it once before. Beautiful place. Historic. It is. And the couch you ordered? He grinned. Way nicer than the one in there. I smiled. I know. I drove back to base as the afternoon light turned golden. My phone buzzed multiple times. Texts from Casey, from Todd, probably from my mother, once news spread. I ignored them all. When I got home, I stood on my wraparound porch and looked out at the parade ground. Marines were conducting evening colors, the flag coming down as the bugler played. The sound carried across the grass, clear and beautiful. This was my life. Not the performance version I'd shown my family, but the real thing. The thing I'd built through 20 years of service, through deployments and training and endless dedication. And it was enough. More than enough. The next day, the movers arrived exactly at 10 a.m. They brought the couch, a custom piece upholstered in museum-quality fabric, designed specifically to complement the historic architecture of my residence. It cost significantly more than $8,000. It would outlast me and probably the next 3 officers who lived here. As they positioned it in my living room, the older mover whistled low. Ma'am, if you don't mind me saying, this is one hell of a place. Thank you. How long you been here? 3 years. And before that? Okinawa, Germany, Camp Pendleton, Kuwait, various places. He nodded, understanding something. Thank you for your service, Colonel. Thank you for delivering furniture with such care. After they left, I sat on my new couch and called my mother. She answered on the first ring. Shauna, Casey told me, she said, that I'm a colonel. Yes. Why didn't you tell us? I thought about how to answer that. Thought about all the ways I could explain the game, the performance, the test. Because you didn't ask, I said finally. For 15 years, none of you asked what I actually did, you just assumed. Silence on the other end. I'm sorry, my mother said quietly. I know. Will you come to dinner? Let us try again. I looked around my living room, the original hardwood, the period fixtures, the view of the parade ground, my couch, my home, my life. Maybe, I said. Let me check.